Multi-exclusive dimensional being card with another exclusive. Today's video is going to be about spirits that attack your zodiac sign. Yes, because a lot of people is not really aware of these things, especially consciously aware of these things. It's one thing to hear about these things. It's one thing to feel these things. It's one thing to be unconsciously aware of these things where you don't see it down here in this perspective. But deep down and on the highest frequency, this plays on an everyday world. And basically, if you're not aware of that, you open the possibilities and chances of being attacked. And basically, what is your spirit? Your spirit is your unconscious. The things you don't see. The things that you're not aware of down here. But your spirit knows everything. Your spirit is your rising. The way you travel, the way you move around. Your spirit is always rotating. Feel me? Your spirit is always traveling. Your spirit is always going through these astral travels and basically experiencing things. And basically what's the experience is your soul, which is your feelings and emotions. Of course, your spirit is your gas. Shit that you can't see, basically. And your soul is basically dealing with your feelings and emotions. Your moon, your macabre, your waters, the tides. And basically that's the subconscious. Subconsciously. And you got to make sure your subconscious matters is basically important. It just plays a huge role. Because basically the unconscious, which is the spirit, controls the subconscious. And the subconscious is basically controlling the conscious, which is your vessel, which you see with your two eyes. Basically this body right here. So now when I take you to this is dealing with your solar plexus. And basically, if you're not aware and if you're not into astrology and you don't know thyself and you don't know your birth charts, or if you're not aware of things at all, you take on the possibilities of being possessed by another spirit. And with all these spirits, who are these spirits? These spirits can possibly be your ancestors. They can also be your ancestors' other beings, and that's dealing with basically the beings that was supposed to go up in the travel. They wasn't able to get up there, and basically they was so fixated on things down here that their chance of actually uplifting themselves was not crucial. It did not basically match. They didn't have other varieties. They didn't have an imagination. Feel me? They was just fixated down here. So that goes to show your ancestors ain't your true ancestors. So be very aware of who you praying to and who you worshiping, because these can be the same spirits that mislead you and misguide you and bring you right back down here to the point you gotta attack another spirit, another person in the body to basically have an influence or basically be birthed right back into. So this is basically spiritual warfare on the highest, lowest, internally and externally. Basically, this is way beyond of the matters, because it can play in many ways, shapes, and forms. And there's many things that we do not see and we are not aware of. And these are people, places, and things that just basically taking a bullet for a gun that wasn't aimed at them. So of course, this can basically create a reality which can be substantial to you, or this can create spiritual warfare, which can be a nightmare for you, which can be very demonic, can be very depressing, which can basically harm you in a harmful way or a harmonious way. Now, it's all about how you control these things, because remember, you're the one that's controlling the spaceship, nobody else. The moment you allow something or someone outside of you to influence you or come into your waters, in your spaceship, in your passenger seat, tell you where to go, direct you, that's the moment spiritual warfare comes into place. Because we all got motherfuckers that are basically come in your car, come in your space, tell you what to do. But knowing deep down, you already know what to do. It's okay to hear about a few advices, but the moment you allow a motherfucker to basically manipulate and control your mind is the moment spiritual warfare has just begun. And that's putting a firmament around your space, your location, your feelings and emotions, your ideas, your concepts. So of course, you got to be very careful and be very aware out here, because this video is going to help a lot of people that's not into astrology also. This is basically look at it on the bigger picture, because at the end of the day, your spirit controls all this shit. Your spirit came first. Your soul came second. And this body came last. So this is basically the third person. And this is the end to a new beginning, which means this physical vessel, you cannot take it with you, but you can take your spirit and your soul with you. So it's all about what you're doing now. It's not about what you did in your past life or previously, because what you're doing now is basically going to be the representations and the judgment of what you're going to be doing in your next life. Now, are you going to basically be down here repeating the same process all over again? Or are you going to uplift yourself and put yourself in the right space and location to vibrate higher, to basically create a bigger shape and form? Because people don't understand and understand. Once a purpose is served, they don't know how to let go. And they think reincarnation. Some people really fucking think reincarnation is something good. Yeah, it's a balance in between. Some people don't want to come back here, but some people, they don't have no choice, because depending on where they was born and the astrological location in certain areas, this basically plays a huge role at the point where whoever was raising them, they wasn't raising them right. They was raising them in a way of where society taught and try to basically vanish how to lavish, how to bring people into how they're supposed to be raised. So of course, this is about you. So this is why it's very important to basically get right with the stars. Because look at it like this. The moment your ass keep looking down here, you're only being consciously aware of shit down here. But if you're not looking towards the stars and the big sun and that big moon in that sky, then your ass ain't going to be able to uplift yourself. Your ass ain't going to be able to travel. Your ass ain't going to be able to move. So it's very important to make sure your ass is staying on the move and your ass is not basically being fixated or stagnated. Because the moment stagnation comes is the moment detriment comes. You're being basically used as a vessel to basically create another person point of view, which is somewhere in society, and this is society, to basically have they shit running, and you don't have anything running for yourself. You're not basically being open to new possibilities to basically sustain yourself. So if that ain't the case, then you just basically leading yourself down to detriment in terms turmoil, and basically trials and tribulations and temptations, shit that you don't want to basically participate in. So now, let's get into these zodiac signs, because forget about what goes on inside of you. This is your solar plexus, basically your Jesus, your consciousness, or whatever the fuck y'all want to call it. Because when we talking about Jesus and solar plexus, that's just talking about the sun. And when the sun rises, it basically walks on water. So now, when we get into this whole perspective of man walked on water, yeah, a physical representation of rise, basically rotated around water, basically rotates. The sun don't rise up out of water. But don't get it twisted. We all did come out of water, though. As far as race and all that other shit. We all came out of water. Everything came out of the water, basically. And then basically, as the sun and the moon rotated, which the moon came first, because that was the whole point of bringing down density. And the sun is basically our physical representations, how we see ourselves in conscious matters. Now, when we get into Aries, Aries is basically the first zodiac sign, supposedly. That don't mean that's the first sign, as in the first person. That means the first influence. And basically, being that you got space within space, these are other spirits. So basically, we all was basically first here. We were just little ass particles, space within space. And basically, when things started to rotate and basically grasp and basically come connect to each other, things start to basically push out. Second came, third came, fourth came, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. And boom, then we only got 9 numbers. So that's a completion. And what is completion? Jupiter, expansion, growth, travel, long expansion, principles, moralities, and shit like that. Whichever you want to get to. But now when we dealing with Aries, these spirits that attack the Aries sign, which is the solar plexus, this is dealing with all spectrums, because basically, if you is basically, for example, in the Aries, of course you're going to be the first to fly. Of course you're going to be the first to basically represent yourself on your values. Of course, you're going to be the first person to basically try to gain value. Of course, you're going to be the first person that basically communicate and express. Of course, you're going to be the first person that'll care in its own way, in its own utilizing way, whether it's doing it with a domestic way or basically a coincidence way. Of course, you're going to be the first to basically be the center of attention and basically redirect that attention. Of course, you're going to basically be the one to basically have structure, stability, and then basically a routine and pattern. Of course, you're going to want to keep doing this shit, especially being that you're in the solar plexus. And these are the spirits that basically drive in the Aries, basically on the masculine shape, which is the physical representation. These are the spirits that enticing it. These are the spirits that go into it, because this is the first one here. So of course, all the spirits are going to basically be first to look upon that spirit to basically carry out the characteristics. But don't get lost into astrology on that spectrum. Let's look at it like this. We all spirits and bodies. That's it, that's all. And we all spirits that create bodies. So at the end of the day, it's not about who they say was first. It's about basically how your ass gonna best represent yourself. Now, of course, they're gonna be the first to relate to people, places, and things, whether it's on partnership, relationship, or basically in their own way of doing things. Everybody got their own way of doing things, or their own way of relating to people, places, and things. Of course, they're gonna be the first to have their own desires and basically gain their desires and want to basically try for their own desires. Of course, they're gonna have their own way of knowing everything, basically trying to say, oh, it's about this, and basically know it all. Of course, they're gonna have their own structure, their own demon, their own body, their own vessel. Of course, they're gonna have their own way of companionship, or their own way of grouping, their own way of creating a group and controlling the group. Of course, they're going to have their own way of dreams and imagination, desires. Of course, that's just basically dealing with basically the Aries spectrum as far as what they want to do and how they see themselves, and basically how they want to be better than that person, or basically play out the characteristics of all the zodiac signs, and basically be the first to take shape and form of that spectrum. And that's how they're going to basically look upon things. For me, they the type to basically say, okay, I'm the first to do this, basically like the ego spectrum. So of course, they take on the representations and all that shit, and that's basically what they're pushing out for other people, places, and things to see, and basically have self-expression, and basically for people to basically look upon that space and spectrum. Now, when we dealing with Taurus, you can relate this to this is dealing with home. This is, well, not necessarily home, but basically stability. Also, this is an earth sign, so this is about things are basically taking its time, patience. This sign get attacked by spirits that like to eat a lot. So of course, some Tauruses, they might have a eating issue. Some might be overweight. Of course, some have big shapes, big forms. Some, is diabetics. Some, they have issues with their throat and shit like that, because that's basically what it governs. And of course, some of them, as you can see, as physical representations, this is basically them on a day-to-day routine, a day-to-day pattern. So you got to be very careful of what spirits that'll basically try to possess your sign, that'll make you buy things or basically do things or get lost into your desires and shit. Also, this can play out to the spectrum of you basically indulging in certain circumstances, situations, and perfections of your own. Getting into multiple relationships, having sex with multiple people, or cheating, basically in those natures. This is basically what will happen if you allow your solar plexus to basically be open and basically be pushed out there. As you can see, also, these signs is like they play the money hungry sign as far as what they want, as far as like already having. So basically, these are the spirits that basically was lost into possessions, as far as like phone, cars, money, possessions, and shit like that. For instance, like somebody like 6ix9ine, as you can see, his whole spectrum is basically down to earth as far as ground. And these are people that basically get lost. As you can see, when he came out of jail, he was overweight, he was fat, he was eating a lot. So of course, he must have got attacked by all kinds of spirits. And of course, he getting attacked by all kinds of spirits, because all the attention has basically be drawn to him and shit. And of course, energy goes where attention flows. So basically, if you got a lot of energy, you got a lot of attention, and basically this is basically gonna be fixated. And these are spirits and bodies that's gonna basically come and create more ways of doing things as far as what they best resonated with, which can be your ancestor or your worst person or your best friend. Basically, this can be a worst nightmare depending on how this spectrum plays out. So you got to be very careful. Be very careful what you're eating, as far as getting lost into your desires and shit. Be very aware and be very careful about how you basically fixate yourself in these ways. Of course, because it's very important. Of course, also being in the repercussions of basically helping out other people, places, and things and shit. Because you know, Taurus, they like to basically buy things for people and basically show out. They not really too much of verbal communicators and shit. Some are, depending on they sign, but basically they moon sign. But of course, it's basically dealing with the solar plexus. Of course, they basically more, you know, home and comfort. Of course, they strive for that. So it's all about stability and practicality. And of course, they take their time to basically resonate with people, places, and things, or basically fall in love with people. So it basically plays a huge spectrum when we're dealing with this aspect as far as what sign attacks the Tauruses. And this is on a day-to-day basis. Remember that too. So don't be having your solar plexus open, wide open and shit. So be very careful and be very wary of that, because this can basically play on a big spectrum to a lower spectrum, and basically depending on how much you get carried away with it, it can basically harness you. Also, now when we talk about Geminis, y'all get attacked by basically the talking spirit, the communicators, the mutable, the changeable, the adaptable, feel me? So of course, if you're not prone to basically being aware of your solar plexus being open, of course you gotta be very careful, because Geminis, they get bored a lot. Some of them talk a lot. They all into the shit. They curious, and of course they got two ways and two aspects of how you look at them. Of course, they got ways of a two-faced style, basically how people say, because you got one side of a Gemini, you got the other side of the Gemini. These are like the twin spectrums. So of course, sometimes other spirits can take their spirit for a ride and basically harness their spirit and basically possess it. Or it could be one day everybody sitting at the dinner table and shit. You gonna have the Gemini friend there. They might fuck around and slip up and say something that took place, or another best friend had a relationship or an affair or affair with another person, and that Gemini fuck around, slip up and say something, and be like, oh shit, you in trouble, you talking a lot, for me, because you know they mouth can get them into a whole lot of trouble too. So you gotta be very careful, and they more logical. So now, being that they logical, this is more left brain. So basically, it's one thing. They may not be into spirituality. They can talk about it. They can basically explain it and express it. But basically, you got to be very careful, because when these spirits inhabit your vessel and your solar plexus is open, you don't know yourself, you know your alignments and shit. This can basically put you in circumstances, situations, and spectrums that are basically downside you. And this can basically get you in trouble too. Also, you know, Gemini, they can be very sneaky and shit. Well, some, not all, but some Geminis can be very sneaky. They might fuck your best friend or some shit like that. Or it might be basically play into another spectrum. But you gotta be very careful and be very wary of how many spirits that basically can possess you or attack you and basically put you in circumstances, situations to make you do things that you wouldn't do normally. And some of them are just like that. For me, but not all. Some are. For me, so let's not get lost into the whole spectrum, because some people look at astrology in a religious way, as in one way of looking at things. But if you understand that we are spirits and bodies, and we all share possibilities of basically certain energies, this plays out spectrum. So that's why it's very important to know it ourselves too. So this way you're not basically trying to be like the other person and just jumping into their ideas and their concepts and shit, because this basically can fuck you over. This can put you in circumstances and situations that basically have you act like other people, places, and things, and basically acting out your own natures too. So of course, another thing, you know, the Geminis, they get attacked by so many spirits, because you know they talk a lot of shit. They're a little friendly and shit. That can be you. You could be somebody in a relationship with a Gemini and shit. And for me, you very serious about shit. And of course, you see them talking and communicating with other people, places, and things that might make you feel opposing. Like, yo, shut the fuck up. Why you talking to this person? This person's a motherfucking stranger. You talk too damn much. You run your mouth too much. Shut the fuck up. Feel me? Also, another thing, like, it's many ways where they can slip up and shit. So I gotta be very careful and very aware, and basically really think, because y'all mind be racist. So that's like the thing of the communication, because without the communication, so basically, you know, many spirits will basically attack the Gemini spirits, feel me? Because it plays that spectrum, because basically that's how the way we think and communicate. So without Mercury, we won't be able to communicate or talk or initiate. So basically that's dealing with also the tongue. That's basically dealing with that spectrum. So of course, Without that, we wouldn't be able to intervene with people, places, things. We wouldn't be able to telepathically communicate or do things like that. So that's why it plays out in that. And because Mercury, you feel me, that's a fast-moving planet. That's dealing with the mind. So it plays out on these spectrums too, especially when Mercury retrograde takes shape and form. These spirits that do attack these zodiac signs, the influence is more heavier now, because basically it plays into that spectrum. So you got to be very careful and be very aware of how you basically interact with people, places, and things and shit like that too. So these motherfuckers, yeah, but Geminis, they can play that role, and they can play that necessity of those actions of basically intervene with other people, places, and things. So you got to be very careful and watch yourself and be careful what you say around the dinner table, because that shit can basically come back and bite you. This can create enemies, or it can create best friends. So be very careful and be very aware. And, you know, Geminis, they like to get out a lot. They like to go places and shit. They don't like to be stuck and stagnated. So they get bored very easily and shit. So basically, if they don't have something in front of them that's keeping them occupied, they likely to take a chance of basically going out there, partying, or just basically doing certain things and shit. So you gotta be very careful. Also, when we dealing with Cancer, now Cancer is basically the one card, but that's the moon. That's the inner world. That's your feelings and emotions. That's your mother. So basically, without the moon, without the Cancer, basically the moon, which basically the cardinal, the starter, without that, we wouldn't have the influences of basically having spirits here to basically take shape and form and basically play those roles. Because the moon is what basically brings in the spirit. The moon is carrying everything on its shoulders as far as feelings, emotions, as far as past experiences, its ancestors, rotations, feel me? Because the moon is your macabre. That's your inner world, basically. That's dealing with the root cause of the spectrum. So now when we talk about Cancers, y'all basically y'all get attacked by the sensitive spirits. The spirit, y'all basically get attacked by the caring spirit. And that's basically dealing with the way you care for your family, the way you care for people, places, and things, the world, the outside looking in. Basically, you got to be very careful. Be very careful and aware of what you care for, because this can basically harness you and put weight on you, knowing that you're already carrying certain shit on you, certain traits. So, of course, y'all be very, very overprotective about people, places, and things of who y'all meet, because, of course, y'all don't feel comfortable, because y'all be ready to kill a motherfucker or basically destroy a motherfucker, especially if y'all don't know them. So that's always the opposing energy, and that's basically dealing with those influences. That's like somebody coming into your portal, and basically this is your portal, this is your space, and like you like, who the fuck is this person? Whether you talking about it, whether you expressing it, or whether it's on your mind or your feelings and emotions, they always go with the gut. They always go with the gut feeling, the internal feeling. So, of course, that's how they basically perceive things in that aspect. So, you got to be very careful and very rare. So, these are like spirits. These are like, y'all get attacked by mainly these people that basically cared so much about the world, or basically cared about other people, places, and things, even strangers and shit. Y'all will basically get into these spectrums and shit. And y'all the moon, y'all got to be very careful, because it's one thing to care about somebody, but if you're picking up the influences of caring about somebody, you're picking up their waters, their feelings, their emotions, and the moon is like basically a magnet. So when you're going out there, you're basically picking up all the residue. That's why Cancers are good with memories. They're good with new feelings and emotions. So basically, when they do see somebody, they catch that already. It's already there, and basically whether they're aware or not aware, it's how it plays. And depending on how that situation take place, depending on their mood swings, that's why Cancers is very powerful and shit. So you can basically take this to any celebrity that was a Cancer. Majority, who whether they was their favorite artists and shit, or whether they basically wanted to basically be like that. Like, for instance, like anybody. So this is basically like a big role. That's why Cancers are basically powerful. Like people like Chief Keef, 50, and all that shit. These are basically people that was like, they was these celebrities, and they was big influences, like as far as like the game Bulletproof, or like the shows Power and shit like that. These are like big influences, so it basically played that role in that spectrum and shit. And of course, everybody was listening to Chief Keef, everybody's banging his music and shit. He's a Cancer, so basically Cancer, they basically got the world on his shoulders. So basically that's how it play out. Also, who else? There's other few rappers too. I'm not really aware, but also Damn, who was another person? So it was another rapper that had just passed. R.I.P. to him. I think, damn. Well, basically, cancers are very powerful, and you got to be very aware, especially shit that you say to them too, because they more right brain, they more esoteric. They're not really too much left brain. They don't really use too much logical words. They're basically more prone, and they're very vulnerable. So they're very protective over their household. They're very protective over their family and people that they know. So you gotta be very careful. These motherfuckers, they won't hesitate to kill a motherfucker if they have to. Feel me? Especially if they feel detriment or somebody basically trying to invade their space. So basically, that's like you basically being on the block and shit. You basically run this block. This is your home. And you see a group of the motherfuckers that come on this block and basically trying to sell weed on your block. Of course, you're gonna be like, yo, who the fuck are y'all niggas? Of course, you're gonna overreact. And like, of course, you're gonna get out of proportion. So take that into consideration with a Cancer too. Like, for me, especially if they get love on the block and basically they one of the big people on the blocks too. So it plays in that spectrum. So you gotta be very careful. Now look, when we dealing with Leos, y'all get attacked by the center of attention spirit, the willpower. So basically, y'all do anything for attention. Y'all do anything for attention as far as like people, places, and things resonating with you, or y'all basically just want to basically take things over. And of course, if y'all don't get attention, y'all feel away. Y'all feel very opposing towards people. Basically, y'all get very disgruntled and shit. And of course, dealing with Leos, y'all basically more like fiery. Y'all more fixated in your own way of doing things, saying things, and acting out in your own natures and shit. So basically, y'all get attacked by spirits that once walked this planet, that once basically they used to do many things for attention, as far as like stand on the block, just do funny shit, go around dancing, go around driving their car, basically pop up on the sunroof and put your head out the window, or basically put your feet out the car when you driving, or basically do some silly shit, or just basically have a barbecue in your bedroom or some shit. Y'all do anything for attention, as far as like what y'all want to basically be represented by. So y'all get attacked by all these spirits that basically that feed for attention, that drive for attention, that'll do anything for attention, that'll do anything for money also to basically receive attention. So y'all basically, if somebody don't basically see that in that spectrum, y'all lash out on that person and shit. It can be from the most lowest to the most highest. So y'all gotta be very careful. Make sure your Stargate and your solar plexus is not basically open or prone to like circumstances, situations that basically can harness y'all and put y'all in ways where other people look at y'all differently and shit. So you could also relate this to could just relate this to the sun in the sky. Basically, the sun in the top and the sky is the center of attention. So basically, when it rotates, these are the influences that's basically being passed on to people, whether it's dealing with their actions or they dealing with their reactions, which is the moon or the macabre. Gotta be very careful of that shit too. So it plays out in the biggest way and the biggest spectrum too. Also, when we dealing with Virgos, that's dealing with basically routine. So if things don't go routineness, y'all feel the need to get nervous. Y'all feel the need to worry a lot. Feel the need to stress a lot. And this is dealing with demonic energy, because anything with the earth signs are demonic. That's possessions. That's being overly possessed about things and circumstances, situations. And of course, if things don't see itself going in your way or in your spectrum, this can basically bite y'all in the ass. And y'all basically start to worry, especially if things didn't go perfectly well as how y'all basically planned it. So of course, y'all basically dealing with more with time, dealing with routine, dealing with being of service to people, places, things, and others and shit. So of course, y'all basically get attacked by spirits that always wanted to see things go right in their way. So, like for instance, if you didn't get that job and you basically put in a lot of work, a lot of practicality, and basically you ain't get the job and shit, so you might catch a fit. It might fuck with you, it might overthrow you, it might put you in circumstances, situations that'll basically like harm you and stress you out. It can basically kill you and put you in very, very harmful manners and harmful ways. Also to the point where you was expecting a child to basically be born in this world. You got the food, you got the baby shower, everything fixated. You want to see things fixated in your own way. If this shit don't go planned, you might go crazy. Also to the point where you come home and shit, you expect the kids to basically clean up the house and clean up the rooms and shit, and then basically you come home and you don't see this shit. just go crazy and shit, because you're like, what the fuck? I expected y'all to basically get this shit played out. Get this shit. Y'all basically also y'all very criticizing when it comes to basically you or other people. So if you don't see things go out in y'all natures, y'all basically get to the criticizing nature. You gotta know you're being attacked by this, basically, because you can also be bringing demons from your workforce or your daily life or your routines or patterns that basically you played a part in, and this basically can get hedged on other people. And basically this is the influences that you're pushing on other people. So basically you're more prone to like long lasting society issues and shit. So you gotta be very careful and very aware of not basically opening your solar plexus to basically have it be attacked by other spirits and other be things to be prone by other people, places, and things, and spectrums and shit. Because basically this is what you're pushing out, and this is what other people are experiencing or receiving. So it can be very, very astonishing on how y'all fixate these things. So you got to be very careful and shit. Be very careful. Don't try not to worry too much. Try not to get nervous about situations and circumstances. Like basically learn how to like breathe sometimes. Meditate for me. Because y'all basically govern the nervous system. So if that's not working out into his favor, all you do is building residue, and you're building resentment, and you're putting a firmament around yourself because you don't see things in no other way. So y'all get attacked by spirits that basically only see daily routine patterns down here, face to earth, and that's a demon. Because if you're doing something overly over again, so that's basically a hell, and you're not trying to get to new places or new ways and shit. That's like living in the hood for the rest of your life and shit. And you love living in the hood. You don't want to go nowhere quiet, nowhere peacefully. Feel me? And the hood ain't doing shit for you, but basically making you work harder. But if you go from point A to point B to point C, you go to the promised land and find things more easier in life, versus trying to basically abstain something that's basically gonna still be here forever, whether you here or not. So you gotta be very careful about this shit. Also, when we dealing with Libras, y'all get attacked by anything as far as like how you relate to people, places, and things. So this can play into many spectrums. So whether you got a relationship with someone as far as seeing them be more balanced and prone to how you see things in the world, or you having a relationship with somebody that just basically where you want to make sure that they say that you look good, you look sexy. Or basically, if you're doing a deed for them, you want them to say you want them to basically say thank you. Or basically, y'all can just basically have a fuck buddy relationship too. That's why Libra is basically dealing with I relate, which is basically dealing with seventh energy. So relating to people, places, and things and shit. So of course, this six, as when we talking about creations, it's another six when we talk about another creation. So basically, that's third person right there. So when you add that up, that's three. That's dealing with surroundings and locations. Also, y'all get attacked by these spirits that basically you get attacked by spirits that took the bullet for other people, whether they wasn't in a circumstance situation, whether this bullet wasn't aimed at them, whether they just jumped in front of a bullet and they died and shit, and they had a lot of shit on their mind, had a lot of shit on their past. Also, whether these people, they go to basically some of them are police officers, some of them went to war, some of them got into relationships and that wasn't aimed for them, or government institutions and shit like that too. So this plays a huge role in shit. So this also can like be the starting and the ending point. So you got to be very careful what kind of relationships you jumping into, and be very careful. You don't got to basically have balance for everybody. For me, because at the end of the day, you got to learn how to, because Libras, they have a hard time of having self balance for themselves. They see the world, they have balance for themselves, but the thing is, they want to basically have the vision of balance for other people, places, and things that they relate to or know. And this can basically, put a lot of harnessing and a lot of weight on their plate, which can lead them into basically being very miserable, very talkative and communicative and shit about circumstances, situations, regarding how they see the other person, whether they see this person in a way where they basically want to see them A to A, B to B. And if things don't basically see itself in that spectrum, they tend to basically turn out the cheek. So you gotta be very careful. Feel me? It's not a, you don't gotta do none of that shit. You know, be none of that shit. And then once you start to feel like you gotta make sure this person have balance with your state of being and the way you see things, that's the moment you putting yourself in a detrimental statementship and your ass being attacked. So break away from any energies that basically have you feeling like that or basically aiming for that. So it's very important to make sure you're not putting yourself in that predicament, because this shit can, like, you can basically die and then basically have that shit on your mind and come back here and deal with the same turmoil and you're going to basically be in the same circumstance situation. Just another reality of it, a way of looking at it. So be very careful and basically don't be out there, don't be open to prone to situations where you always think you got to have balance with somebody and harmony and peace and justice with them, but it's not always that case or scenario. And when we're dealing with Scorpios, this is dealing with underworld. This is dealing with getting lost into your desires. So this is underworld is dealing with underworld. This is basically dealing with dark spirits, death. This is dealing with occult, mysticism. So y'all get attacked by basically where we come from as far as like the unseen. And pretty much Pluto, which is death, transformation, rebirth. Y'all get attacked by that energy. And y'all got to be very careful because, you know, it can be circumstances and situations where you get into things, get into people, places, and things and aspects. So you can be this black sheep of the family where you just basically like hidden behind the scenes, like hidden in the dark, just do things behind the scenes. It can be very, you know, tempting because, you know, you be wondering what the fuck is it? Why is this person always going in their room? Why is this person always hiding behind doors? Like, what the fuck is going on behind it? Like, they be very mysterious, like they like under the ground type shit, to the point you might just walk into the room, you might see some shit, you might see some dark shit. They might just be finger popping themselves, playing with themselves, jerking off, or doing shit behind the scenes, or watching some dark shit, some drama shit, some spookism shit. Anything, you know, because, you know, this is where they come from. So this is basically the spirits that intense them and shit. So it plays in a huge spectrum. It plays in a huge motherfucking role. So I know if you know what I'm talking about, any Scorpio in your family, they basically behind the scenes. I mean, they don't like to be too open. They like to hone thing, and this is gonna be very bad, especially because, you know, the whole purpose is for them to basically relate to people, places, things, whether it's on a sexual affairs or basically like someone that they can basically talk to and get things off their mind and shit. But if you hone this shit in, what you're doing is you're basically putting the waters more heavier. And when you make waters more heavier and you don't basically push it out or express it, this can basically put a box in the firmament around you. So basically, instead of you trying to relate to people, places, and things, you're being attacked, you're being harnessed. These could be like people like your ancestors, as far as the other people or other beings that basically walk this planet. Like, they can basically inhabit you to basically give you ideas, to basically manipulate certain people, places, and things, get information out of people, places, and things, use people, places, and things, and shit. You can also have some females that be basically get into relationships after relationships because this person might have a nice car, nice house, money or possessions and shit, desires and shit. I might get lost into that to the point where, like, you might be in a relationship with somebody and basically it's like, damn, everything was going great and shit, and to the point where y'all just basically fade away because, you know, the Scorpio, they had a different perspective, a different point of view. Like, this person doing this person doing that, to the point it'll make you do these things too. Also, y'all gotta be very careful because, you know, y'all basically dealing with the genital areas, which is the 8th house, that's dealing with the dick and the pussy and the ass. So basically, of course, like, y'all, this is where all those diseases, as far as HIV, AIDS, STDs, sexual transmitted diseases, and all kind of spectrums that play in that role in that aspect and shit. If you wasn't into astrology, you would know this shit. So basically, you gotta be very careful. Y'all might be out here overly fucking, be out here overly sucking and shit to the point y'all might just catch an STD. And you don't want to basically put yourself in that predicament, circumstance, situation. So you gotta be very careful. So, cause y'all basically get attacked by spirits that once had these diseases, that kept that shit in. Some kept it in, some didn't. Basically, when they experienced, some had that shit on their mind, they died with it. So basically, you're being influenced. So basically, because these are spirits that was once in bodies previously. You feel me? Some didn't make it to the next dimension because all they was basically focused on, fixated was shit down here. So of course, if you're focused and fixated on shit down here, you don't have an imagination on the highest, broadest perspective, basically a pass and above the sun and moon. You're just basically basically surface level shadow. So if you're just prone to that shit, then you're not gonna basically be moving out there in the esoteric waters and shit. You're gonna stay stagnated. So y'all basically get attacked by other spirits that once basically had circumstances and situations and issues with that, or basically y'all just get attacked by the ancestors that was most hated or some shit, and it's basically coming on to you. So it's like a ongoing family routine pattern. Some families, they make it to the next, some don't make it to the next. They come back here, they pick up and bring the same influences, and of course energy can never be destroyed. It can only be reciprocated or rebirthed and regroomed. So of course, if this play a role in your spectrum, you gotta be very careful and watch out for this shit. So of course, try to be very careful. Try not to hold too much shit in. A lot of dark shit did happen, but you gotta basically share that and basically get that off of you sometimes too. You can't hold too much shit in, or it's gonna basically be a burden. You might lash out. You might just kill a motherfucker for that. So you gotta be very careful and aware of that. Also, when we dealing with Sagittarius, well, I know a whole lot about this shit. It's one thing, but y'all get attacked by people. Y'all get attacked by spirits that was once in this vessel. Y'all get attacked by the preaching spirit, the philosophical spirits, all in the brain spirits, as far as left brain and shit. Y'all get attacked by the masculine side. Also, y'all can get attacked by the feminine side too. So this plays in many ways and many spectrums too. Some Sagittarius, they be basically prone to like the way how they see life, as in like police, rules, laws, regulations, restrictions. They would preach to you and tell you, oh, by the way, you should basically obey the law. You should listen to the law. You should say hi to the law. You should greet the law, to the point where they might fuck around, bring their girlfriend around type shit. And your parents, they're not even together and shit, but this motherfucker might just bring one of the girls around and be like, oh, say hi to this person, to the point where to put the girl that he brought around in a comfortable environment. Cause it's like, damn, like, why we gotta communicate? Why we gotta meet with everybody? You know what I'm saying? For me, it's basically more open and basically free spirited type shit. Also, Sagittarius, y'all gotta be very careful, because y'all can be preaching and talking about shit that'll basically be misleading people and putting a firmament around the way they see things in life, as far as a motherfucking point that's dealing with religious texts and shit. And to tell you worship certain deities and certain y'all basically get attacked by these Jesus Christ spirits, these Muslim spirits, these Abraham spirits, all these spirits that was preachers and basically try to like control people, tell them what to do. Y'all get attacked by these spirits, and y'all gotta be very careful and very aware and shit, because what you're telling somebody could be basically putting them into a detriment circumstance situation. That's why everybody need to have their own outlook, how they see life and how they see things, and not basically be listening to everything that people, places, and things telling them and shit. Because if you just seeing things in one way of somebody's spectrum, you creating a firmament around yourself, around your ideas, your concepts, and your imagination. And this could bring detriment. This can put you on harmful natures instead of harmonious natures. This will stop you from basically getting from point A to point B to point C, to the point where you wanted to basically go to basically get a new job, a new workforce. But the Sagittarius would be like, that's too far. I mean, the Sagittarius would basically trick you and say, I'll take you, to the point where the Sagittarius might fuck around. They might say, it's too far. This is kind of too far. To the point you might just go crazy and shit. That's the opportunity right there. You missed out on the big ass opportunity, and you don't see things flow out or go into your spectrum, and it'll basically fuck you up and put you in a turmoil, because it's like that'll basically fuck up everything. Like it'll hone deep on you. Like, damn, I thought you was gonna take me here. I relied on you to basically take me to this job interview, and you ain't fucking take me. You might just lash out on the motherfucker because Sagittarius say, it's for your own good, but this is your vision, this is your word, how you see things, so don't get prone to that. Also, to the point, Sagittarius would tell you to do things in a certain way, but they do things in their own different way. They would preach to you and be like, oh, you shouldn't do it, you shouldn't do that, to the point they'll fuck around and just do that shit. So you gotta be very careful with these Sagittarius motherfuckers. These motherfuckers are also sneaky too, feel me? Because they get attacked by all kinds of spirits too. And for me, they free spirits, so they open to everything. So, and it's basically dealing with Jupiter. So Jupiter is wisdom, knowledge, expansion, and growth. Y'all motherfuckers get attacked by motherfucking religious spirits, philosophical points, left brain, logical motherfuckers. So y'all be very careful who y'all basically dealing with. These motherfuckers always feel the need to preach and talk shit. So the whole time, they won't walk the walk. They talk the talk. So y'all be very careful with this shit. Well, some Sagittarius is like this, and some not. Some do this in the sensitive, attention, expressible way. Some may not do this in a sensitive, expressible way. So you gotta be very careful. For me, you gotta be very aware. For me, don't let no motherfucker put a firmament around your head, tell you, oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. For me, that's blocking advantages for you. For me, you gotta break the fuck out of it. If your parents is a motherfucking Sagittarius, you need to break the fuck up out of that circumstance situation ASAP, or it's gonna put you're gonna have some bad blood beginning. Basically, you don't want to be that. You do not want to be that shit. And when we talk about Capricorns, this is dealing with stability and structure in the long term. So y'all get attacked by like the guilt spirit, demons. Y'all get attacked by devils and structures. Y'all get attacked by that kind of spirit, because basically this is down to earth. All earth signs get attacked by demonic spirits. So of course, if y'all don't get rest, if y'all don't basically meditate, or if y'all don't get enough sleep, y'all will see things go into catastrophic ways, to the point it'll harness you, to the point where you see some Capricorns, they don't have $1 in their pocket, or if somebody look at them the wrong way, they might snuff them or some shit. They might start a fight. They might start conflicts, to the point where if a Capricorn ain't got money, they see money around, they might take money out your purse. They might take something from you, to the point where if a Capricorn don't see life in another way, it might fuck the shit out of your girl, cheat on you, all kind of shit. To the point Capricorn don't get their way, they might lash out. They might go crazy. That's why certain Capricorns got situations and situations with their parents and shit. They get into clashes and shit. As you know, Capricorns, they don't like to settle for less. They want to basically have that new car. They want to have that new clothes. They want to have that new house. They basically dealing with down to stability and structure. They very serious. And they ain't just, they very hard-working people, too. Don't get that fucked up, too. But we all share these possibilities and elements. So basically, y'all should basically be calm and don't basically get overburdened by certain things and shit. These motherfuckers, they'll do anything just to have $1 or some money in their motherfucking pockets, and they basically take that shit very serious and shit. And of course, that's a serious sign. That's cardinal earth. So that's like basically the start of everything. So basically, that's what created all the structure, all the stability. Basically, they the first right there. Cardinal is basically the trendsetter, the developer. And basically, when we talk about fixated, that's basically that's dealing with Taurus. Everything is already fixated here. You just gotta basically put the work and put the motion in. And basically, mutable will basically be Virgo. The expression of it, the adaptability of it, the adaptable to new changes and shit. Transformation. If you ain't adaptable to transformation and death, your ass coming back here for real. So you gotta be very careful how you basically. Y'all got motherfuckers gotta be very careful, because you feel me. And of course, y'all gotta be very aware of shit too. So don't get lost into the physical and shit. And just because I say that I utilize the word demons and devils, we are demons and devils in physical flesh. So that's basically dealing with down to earth. That's dealing with structure. That's dealing with stability. So of course, you get lost into the flesh. You only see this in one aspect. Your ass gonna be lost for eons. And basically, this don't counteract on how long your ass gonna be lost. So that's why it's important with what you're doing now. It's not about what you're doing in the past. It's about what you're doing now. And if you ain't doing nothing now, you ain't doing nothing with your life. You ain't got no money in your pocket. You ain't got Saturn in your pocket. You ain't got Saturn into place. And motherfucker, your ass lost out of pocket. You need Saturn. You need structure. You need stability in your life. Motherfucker, you need possessions. But don't get lost into this shit. Your spirit create these things. Your spirit is not the creation. Your spirit is a creator. So in the same understand that shit, you are the creator. You are here to bring your creations down into existence. Whether it be a person, place, or thing. Or just basically get rained down to your existence. So don't get lost to these concepts. This shit is real serious. And the moment you get lost, the moment you put yourself in a circumstance situation, basically being at fault. Now when we talk about Aquarius, y'all get attacked by basically, like, y'all like a whole different constellation. Y'all like a whole different aspect. Y'all like in the whole another world type shit. Y'all really not down to earth type shit. Y'all humanitarian. Y'all want to see people, places, and things on the highest spectrum. Y'all want to see things going to favor for everybody. But when we talk about Aquarius, it's basically dealing with some out of proportion type shit. Like y'all get attacked by like motherfucking y'all get attacked by spirits that basically from other constellations type shit, because y'all think outside of the box. That's Aquarius, for me. That's out of the box. That's dealing with like the alien. That's why people call Aquarius like aliens, or they ain't from this area. They fucking weird. People, for me, like we just basically, we not from here. Like we just from another location, another galaxy, another planet type shit. That's why Aquarius like talk about that. I mean, this could be good and bad though, but for me, you gotta be very careful. Some Aquarius, they fixated in their own way and shit. They like to start projects. They don't like to finish it, but they like have somebody else finish the project type shit. They basically, Saturn and Uranus is like basically, it's like 50-50 element right here when we talking about Aquarius, because Aquarius is basically outerly, and of course when we dealing with structure and stability, that's basically gonna be a centric representations when we dealing with Aquarius and shit. So that's basically the influences that y'all gonna be picking up. So of course, y'all would say things like, I'm not from this planet. Y'all would say things like, oh, I ain't fucking with this person, especially when they get too close to y'all and shit. And you know, air, that's basically dealing with fixated air. So if air is fixated in its own way, that's basically like the number one. When we talk about air sign, that's like, even though Libra is the cardinal, Aquarius is like basically like above and beyond. They know how they don't really need people in their life type shit. They don't need people to basically see how life is basically fixated or basically created, because they basically are like the behind the scenes type of people. Like they like a whole different constellation. Like they just different. Like different. Like it's no talking to these motherfuckers. These motherfuckers just see the world different. They think about the world different. For me, it's more connected to the universe. All signs is connected to the universe, but you know, when we talk about Aquarius, they like somewhat deep into that shit too, as far as like some Aquarius, some are not. So also, y'all gotta be very careful though, because y'all can basically get attacked by mainly majority all the spirits, because once y'all see an influence, y'all gonna feel the need to basically want to express these influences. Basically, you gotta be in that spectrum before this may not be you, because you basically seeing an influence and you're receiving something. Because once you receive something, once you look at something, it go inside of you. So of course, you're gonna be picking up all the aspects and all the duties and obligations of basically trying to carry out that shit. And of course, these are other spirits that's basically trying to influence you to do these things. So if you don't know thyself, and basically you take the possibility and chances of basically getting overthrown of certain shit, and it basically can bring detriment and harmfulness to you, especially to other people, the way they see you expressing these individualistic ways and natures and manners and shit. So you gotta be very careful. Try not to like open your stargate or have it open out there, because this shit can harm you for the good or the better. So this can bring the harmonious energies or harmful energies. So be very careful on how you do things and say things, and basically fixate yourself in the community. For me, it's one thing to be this, but it's one thing to play out these natures. So be very careful. When we talk about Pisces, this is dealing with the feelings and emotions. This is dealing with the last guilt. This is dealing with death and transformation. This is basically dealing with dictations of how, whether you coming back here, whether you're going to another space and location. So basically, we're dealing with Pisces. It's dealing with the water sign. This is dealing with change. This is dealing with the death portion. So basically, this is dealing with the last. So of course, everybody took all the influence. Everybody took upon all the influence as far as Aries, as far as Taurus, as far as Gemini, as far as Cancer, as far as Leo, as far as motherfucking Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius. It's basically like everything down the line dealing with it, because this is dealing with dreams and imagination. So of course, these are dreams and expectations that you will receive. These are the spirits that can basically, you can come back into this world with, and these spirits that can basically come into you and come back into your world and create realms of realities and possess you. So basically, when we talk about Pisces, y'all get attacked by all kinds of spirits. So what shall be first, which is Aries, what shall be last. What's first shall be last. So that plays out in the spectrum. And those are the spirits that attack your zodiac sign. So if you don't know thyself, and you don't know who you are, and you're not into astrology, you need to get into astrology. this should have helped you. This won't burn bridges between people, places, and things, especially when we're going through certain aspects and certain travels and influences that we pick up on the day-to-day. So be very careful and be very aware of things of like this, because basically it can bring you to the promised land, or it can bring you back here to the negative land. So yeah, be very careful on how you deal with other people, places, things out here.